And it's actually not brand new. It's I think we're breaking down here like with episode 1 where that wasn't funny. It's just... I can't see the title.
So we move to some perhaps more contemporary and perhaps, I guess we could say, sort of big picture texts. Our last 4 remaining texts move away from the much more focused topics that we just covered. And here we have a book called Gaza as Metaphor. It's an edited volume by Helga Tawil-Souri and Dina Matar. So basically, it examines the way that Gaza immediately evokes an abundance of metaphors like open-air prison, terror, resistance, occupation, siege, and trauma, irrespective of when, where, and to whom the word Gaza is uttered. Similarly, a host of metaphors also recall Gaza like crisis, exception, refugees, destitution, tunnels, and persistence. So this edited volume brings together journalists, writers, doctors, academics, and others who use metaphor to record and historicize Gaza, to contextualize its everyday realities, interrogate its representations, and provide an understanding of its real and symbolic significance. It was published by Hurst and Company in London and was published in 2016. It includes 21 different chapters divided into 4 parts. And I'll actually just mention the parts. After an introduction by the editors, we have part 1, which is called Living Gaza, that includes 6 chapters. Part 2 is Placing Gaza, which includes 5 chapters. Part 3 is Narrating Gaza, which includes 5 chapters. And part 4 is Thinking Gaza, which includes a further 5 chapters, followed by notes, bibliographies, and illustrations.
Followed by the pound sign.
This is in paperback. It is, as you can see, a small, very accessible, I think, book. You can assign the whole thing. You can assign different chapters of it. It's about 250 pages. It is clearly written both for an academic audience, but also trying to reach a broader, a whole host of constituencies and a much broader audience, which I think is great. Bassam?
I actually have nothing to say. I don't know where to look, Khalid. I'm over here. Okay.
You never have to look at this one. Okay?
No, I will not look at you. Khalas, I really appreciate, the author, the authors, because I know them, the editors, and I look forward to actually looking at this a bit more closely, especially that was not supposed to happen.
It's not the grandpa.
Yeah. It's okay. All right, this was not supposed to happen, folks. We're back. So, Nadya.
Gaza interrupted. Nadya.
Noura. Ooh, that's not good.
The editors begin curating this book, at the tail end of the 2014 onslaught of Gaza. And so it was fresh on everyone's mind. And even at the moment that everyone was watching with horror, these unprecedented mass weapons that were used against a captive population that was denied even the right to become a refugee population, which seemed very exceptional. How is this happening in the 21st century? And yet at the same time, so much of what's happening in Gaza is emblematic of, carceral technologies, state violence, racial and religious supremacy that we're seeing everywhere. And so it's playing on this theme of exception and yet not exception bound in one. And I think Gaza as metaphor is apt to understand both the specificity of the situation in Gaza, as well as to understand that here we have the experimentations of new weapons that are being used in the Gaza Strip that are then sold and branded as tested in order to be sold abroad, or carceral technologies that are exported abroad, or ways of dehumanization, or ways of marginalizing or creating expendable populations. And so it's why it makes sense for activists in Ferguson, Missouri, to begin to identify the Gaza Strip, or why favelas who are protesting against Brazilian state violence are naming one of the favelas as the Gaza Strip. And so Gaza becomes and starts to have its own life, and not just as a source of devastation, but also as a source of resistance. And I think that the volume is so rich. And each, it includes writers like our friends Shireen Sayali and Ziad Abu-Rish, and is a worthwhile read, including, even if not on this question, even the question of thinking about literature and literary production. So look forward to sharing that.
Thank you.
Same here. All right, moving on. Thank you, Noura.